Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Noel.
And this is episode 312. And the speedrunning marathon for charity, AGDQ, is underway when this episode releases. And for the second year in a row, it's not in person.
I thought it was in person last year.
No, we bragged about it being online because of how fluid and smooth and nice it was.
Yes, and I thought they had one since we had that discussion where they were back in person because vaccines and stuff. But now it's worse again.
Because they do two every year. You know,
Yes.
They do AGDQ and they do SGDQ.
Right.
S stands for summer, A stands for winter, and they are. And so they may have done one in person in between there, but I don't recall. But either way, we had talked about how great it was online.
Yeah, great
Smooth,
production quality.
cuts away a lot of the awkwardness that could potentially be there with these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And many games are being played. Clint, one of our directors, gathered a list of NGP relevant titles that were being run.
Ooh.
And the list includes, but it's not limited to, games like Mega Man 2, Bucky O'Hare, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and Link to the Past. Also, games that are relevant to just the three of us, such as Hades and Slay the Spire.
Oh, Slay the Spire's in there? I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I didn't want him to talk about it because I was going to.
Go.
The only reason I didn't realize Hades was getting run. Slay the Spire has me crazy hyped, but a Hades run will be super fun too.
Yeah.
I might actually tune in this year.
No.
He won't, first of all.
I never do. I always intend
that
to, and then I forget because it's not hype enough. But there's double hype for me this year.
I think the world record for Slay the Spire is something like 4 minutes and something seconds, Kenny.
That's not possible.
It's possible.
For a specific, a single run. This is all four characters unseated.
Wow.
So they're going to get randomness. They don't know what's getting thrown at them.
That's cool.
But yeah, on a specific seed, just through one character, it's crazy fast how quick they go.
The estimate for even what you just said, and I don't know because I haven't played the game, is still only 20 minutes. So this is going to be a 15-minute run of whatever that setup is.
That's crazy.
All right. My questions were as follows. Do you intend to watch, which Kenny, you already said you intend to, but that doesn't mean anything. And then...
No, it does not.
Are there any runs that you're looking forward to? So, Kenny, you've kind of answered both of those, so we'll throw it over to Nolan.
Yes, I intend to watch it. There are a couple games I definitely want to check out. Hades being probably number one just because it's so relevant to us, and that'll be fun. Sekiro is another one on the final day. And Dark Souls 1 is also being ran, but I really want to catch Sekiro because I think I've never seen a speedrun of that game. And I'm very interested to see how that goes. And the finale game is Metal Gear Solid 1, which I just beat yesterday. Yeah. And so it's very relevant to me, and I want to watch that. So yeah, it'll be good.
I'm also hyped to watch The Risk of Rain 2.
Dude, yeah, me too. I saw that. Is
that the game we played?
Yeah, we played it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's the one where
he played it for 5 minutes.
It's so good.
It's the one where we got up on a ledge and fought a boss for 30 minutes. It's not a great. That's
so
that one,
good,
right?
And we all need to play it again, and I will watch that one too.
To answer my own questions, yeah, I watch every year at least some. We used to have it on pretty much the entire run, just while we were asleep and everything. But I don't know if we're able to sleep while doing that anymore. And then, yeah, there's tons of run. I named some of the ones that we played on the podcast. I'm excited about those. There's kind of a lot of Legend of Zelda ones. The Final Fantasy ones that are being played is Final Fantasy 13, which is great.
Ooh.
They're doing, or it's a bonus game, but it will be met. They're playing Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is the
DLC.
Yeah, kind of. And I think those are the only two Final Fantasies they're playing this year.
Oh, that's weird. They usually play all of them.
Yeah, but Final Fantasies take a little while. So actually, for some reason, I'm looking at the Final Fantasy 13 time estimate. It's only at 25 minutes. So I don't know what they're planning on doing there.
Putting the game in and then ejecting it. Speedrun.
Yeah, it's on PC, so I know you can break it.
Okay.
Saved file any %?
Yeah. Looking at the lineup, I mean, I don't want to ogre exaggerate or go ogre board, but this year's AGDQ is going to be Shrektacular. So, like in our, it's just the beginning.
Ogre
Quit
board?
donkeying around.
Okay.
I don't have
Nolan?
one.
All right. Puss in Boots?
Quit pussing boots in around.
Like in our retro game of the week, Shrek. Hassle at the castle.
Overview.
Shrek, Hassle at the Castle is a 2D side-scrolling Game Boy Advanced, I guess, beat 'em up.
No.
Sort of platforming.
No.
I mean, kind of.
It's neither one of those things.
It's sort of a brawler.
RPG.
It's sort of a brawler, and it's sort of a platformer.
No.
You're running around as the titular character and his cast of compatriots and making your way through just the classic story of the movie, although sort of retold like kids' video game style. And you got big heads.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the whole game.
It's not a beat 'em up, and it's not a platformer. It is a movie
Define it then.
game. It's literally you're playing through the plot of a movie. There's no you don't
Well, sure,
platform.
but that doesn't have anything to do with what type of game it is.
I mean, it's a single player movie telling game.
If back in 2001, I went and paid $6 to go watch a matinee at the local theater.
10.
And no, back in
It was
2001.
matinee. He's cheap.
Yeah, it was still 10 then. Oh, matinee's cheap.
Not a matinee.
Matinee's cheap.
And there's a theater by the school that Kenny and I went to that you could go and watch a matinee for $4.50 still, which was great. It was, you might
The one
die.
that you thought you were going to get stabbed, but
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Die?
Yeah. The risk is there, but if you make it out alive, it's $4.50.
That's worth to see Shrek.
If I went there in 2001, paid $6, sat down and started eating popcorn and watched this game, I would not be satisfied. So it's not just
Of course not. But but if you're gonna sit down and play,
$4.50 is a pretty good price for movie popcorn.
it's not a good pie.
$6.
It's just not it doesn't have elements of any of
It's
those
a platform.
games.
Of course it is.
No.
You're jumping across platforms. You're trying not to fall in pits or in water. You're swinging across vines. You're doing all the platforming things. I would argue that it is a platformer, not a beat 'em up. We're sounding like that one where I said that it wasn't a space shooter, but it was a puzzle game, and we had an argument here in the air.
Well, it's certainly not a puzzle game.
This is not the thing I thought we were going to argue about today, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
It's just the beginning. Okay. This is a Shrek podcast, though. I do want to make it clear. Don't get me twisted.
Please do not do that, because to be clear, I guess I'm too old for the memes. I don't know why it works for Kenny, but listen,
you're not too old.
I was in my early teens when it came out, so I guess I could have watched it. But it seems like today, the generation that is obsessed with Shrek and the memes about it is the generation under me. Are the people? Yes, largely yes, that are a few years younger than me.
You gotta say they're less than you. Make it personal.
And
put yourself above them. Rude.
And so I've watched the original Shrek movie once. I don't think I've watched any of the other Shreks. The memes have never worked for me, and the humor has never worked for me. To be honest, you ready for this?
Sure.
Shrek is voiced by Shagadelic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think his humor in general is funny.
I will generally even agree with that statement, but it works here.
Y'all are so wrong.
He's what, Mike Myers, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you don't like Austin Powers humor.
Correct.
Yikes.
Generally, I'm a little bit in Dustin's camp, just like flavor of what entertains me. But that's no excuse, because Shrek was amazing. It was the first time but the best example of this sort of shift to animation that was made for everybody. Like the kids laughed, the adults laughed.
The adult
was-
didn't laugh.
Bro, you're
Okay,
wrong.
here's what happened.
You
Dustin watched this movie once.
has a fart joke
Since
in it.
then, he wants the hot take of being different and
No,
unique
it's
because
just
Yes.
it's
not.
popular. And
Yes.
he forgets that the day he watched it,
True.
he was hungry, he had a headache, and like I don't even know. Somebody ran over his foot with a
So
car.
he
or
had a
something.
bad day
'Cause he
when
had
he
to be
saw
in
it.
a terrible mood to watch this movie and not at least chuckle
It
a
is-
few times. It's great.
It's not funny
It's
to me.
iconic.
Y'all think this is funny?
Yes.
Donkey.
That's
A
that's the
little
only
bit.
joke in the movie. You
It's funnier
you
than
are so Kenny's right.
No,
Kenny's
listen. I'm not wrong. This is how I feel. I'm fine with people liking it. It is not my humor, and so Shrek has never clicked with me. So playing a Shrek game this week, I was already starting off on the wrong hoof or whatever
that-
Shrek's feet are.
That's a foot.
that should be a really good thing for you then with this game.
Okay.
Because this game was nothing like Shrek whatsoever.
Ooh.
BS HIT.
Oh, we
What?
are in
Kenny,
some contention.
That's also wrong. Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
What
straight up the
makes
movie.
Shrek unique? What makes Shrek unique? The humor. Tell me one joke that they told anywhere in this game.
Okay, that's fine, but it's
A
totally
single
Shrek
place
in
that this
every
game
other
made
way.
you laugh.
Oh, he doesn't have the jokes in it because it's not the movie, but it's telling
Right,
the
which is not Shrek. That's the heart of what makes Shrek Shrek. Y'all are both wrong.
Listen,
This
I
game
know
was
y'all are
nothing
both
like the movie.
Listen, I know y'all are both
The movie's the
arguing with
best.
each other. All right, I need to come in and I need to separate y'all because we've got a video game to talk about.
Gameplay.
It's really, really minimal. Which is why I struggle to call it either of those genres that we talked about earlier. What, Kenny?
I wasn't sure, even when I played it the first time, what this game was supposed to be. But it's a kid's game.
Yes, it is. It is a kid's game
That's yes.
in
No.
every way. And the reason I just agree with you so hard that it's not Shrek. You said it's not Shrek in any way at all. That is not true because it tells the exact story of the movie. You go to every single location, you do every single thing that they do, and you do it in a short amount of time. It's kind of crazy that they did that and were able to go through the entire movie like that. What shape are you making with your hand?
Shrek is like an ogre. It's got layers. It's an onion. There's heart at the middle of it.
Shrek is like
and
an
this
ogre. It has
doesn't-
layers.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Wait.
this doesn't have
You mean onion?
any of that.
You mean onion?
No, it doesn't have depth, Kenny. It is a Game Boy Advance movie game, but it's very stripped down in that you just go through the plot of the movie as Shrek or as Donkey or as Fiona in some stages, and you punch and jump. That is it. It feels like very empty in terms of like game feel.
You also scream into the void and or sing.
Yeah.
Can't leave that out.
Or Winnie? Nay.
I mean, he
I don't-
screams.
He
It's a
screams.
I don't
scream.
want to talk. I don't want to talk about that.
And
I
is
don't wanna
that
talk about
is that Eddie Murphy?
Did he voice the game? No.
in the game?
And is Fiona voiced? Who's Fiona voiced by?
I actually don't know.
I
Wow,
don't either.
sexist. All right, so yeah, it's very simplistic in that you are walking a direction, typically right, like a platformer. You are jumping, you're punching, and most enemies take one single punch. You do have a little health bar. There are a few collectibles, they're not collectibles. There are a few things that you can get. One is like a heart that gives you health back. One is a gingerbread man that I think, head that I think gives you a life.
A new
And-
life. Yeah.
One is a lantern.
Makes you fly.
Yeah. And that makes you fly. And and coins.
That's canon. And coins, yeah.
Wait, is lantern canon?
I mean, the fairy dust, yeah. It's fair. It's a fairy and a lantern.
And so, other than getting those things, you are walking, jumping, punching, and you do have your limit break. And once your bar fills up, you can yell into the void. That's what Kenny talked about. Yeah, and
I don't know.
it kills everything on screen unless it's a boss.
it works great when you're playing as Shrek. It looks like him. It sounds like him. It totally feels like a him move. I'll even buy it when you're playing as Fiona because they swap it to a sing.
Yeah.
And the whole reference to her singing, although the little bird level was way too much and kind of
that was insane.
Dumb.
That was
really dumb.
That was so dumb.
That was the one place they tried to make a movie joke, but without like setting it up or explaining it.
No, you
so
just
it didn't
go in.
land at all unless you knew about it.
Well, and for those
regardless,
for those that didn't play, there are a few stages that are more like mini game-esque that stop the platforming
time attack
situation, and one of them is slam the B button over and over again to make Fiona sing and make a bird pop, but it gives you a 2-second wiggle room. Like you can be tapping that thing as fast as you want, and it's still going to be difficult to make the bird pop. That's what we're referencing.
Yes.
Yeah. All of that to say, the ult works for Shrek. The ult works for Fiona. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. The limit break. I'm sorry, the official term from the game. When Donkey had his stupid little animation where he looked at you and opened his mouth and made a noise, it made me so uncomfortable. I didn't use it intentionally because I hated how it looked and sounded.
I just thought they would do something different. They all have the same moveset. Fiona's is like karate or whatever, from the movie, and it makes a little slap noise, which is good and different, but they all have the same thing. It's just scream and people die. And
They try to differentiate a little bit between the characters. Donkey is faster than Shrek. Shrek is stronger than the other two. Fiona can jump higher, further. Like there's some differentiation a little bit between the characters.
It's pretty subtle though.
And if we haven't clarified, you have a stage select, or you have a character select screen before each stage, even when you only have one character. And sometimes, because the story calls for it, you can only select one character. But I didn't expect a character select screen. I'll tell you that much. Like
I didn't either. And
just multiple playable characters was more than I thought we were going to get out of this game.
Yeah,
it makes sense though because they journey together and do different. They each have like a moment in the movie where like they're the center of the adventure, but the stages, I don't know how many there are. It's kind of like a 1-1-1-2 situation, 2-1-2-2.
But they're not all three. It's not 3 stages per level.
No.
So I think there's like 7 or 8 areas, but so there's probably, I don't know.
It's like
20 something.
I think it's 7 distinct areas, but you go back to one of the areas twice.
Yeah. Something
like that.
So that's fine, and all of them are like destinations from the movie. So you have the swamp, you go to Duloc, you go to the castle to save Fiona, and you go stop the wedding. And what I don't need, and it's a short game. It's so short. Beat it in no time this week. But I think it could have been even shorter because I didn't need those like filler stages where you're saving the fairy creatures. Yes, it's on brand to like save the pigs and Little Red Riding Hood, but I mean, you don't do that. They don't do that in the movie, and it's just the same stage, but it's like, and the same objective. It's just they put different characters in place of those other ones. And
I felt like they were trying really hard to give you variety, and some of that, let's also explore some of the things we can do along the way with some of that attempt at variety. I don't think those specific things played out very well, but I will say I was super glad that this wasn't just the same platforming over and over and over again.
It was.
It's still not super advanced. No, they tried to mix it up. You have normal platforming levels. You have levels that are more boss themed. You have levels that are time challenges that you have to beat in a certain amount of time. You've got escort missions. You had a whole slew of different types of things. They felt very similar. I'm not saying there was a huge variety there, but they at least tried to keep this game fresh and not just make it one level you're playing over and over and over again.
Why escort missions? That was the last thing I expected with this game, and there were a couple.
You had to get the pig away from. You had to get the pig away from the wolves.
From the wolves.
That's in the movie, right? I mean, I don't know.
No. I mean, those characters are in there. Yeah. But
does that pig have a name?
Oink.
It should be Hamlet. Somebody
you need to
once
contact
told me.
DreamWorks and let them know.
Tell
that.
him to remake it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Real question. I've said him a few times because I know that he got his own movie and everything. Is Puss in Boots not in this first movie?
No,
He is.
no.
Well, okay,
Puss in
cool.
Boots is in
Different
Shrek
answer
2.
there.
He's in 2? You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
He's in
yeah.
2.
He's not in
Okay.
the first one.
Did
no.
they call Shrek 2 number 2 bathroom poo or something? What do they call it?
It's Shrek the third.
Gotta go number 2. No.
It's Shrek. It's Shrek 2. This one goes out to you, Dustin.
Yeah.
That's the name of the movie.
No, I don't think it's number 2. But even if it was, that's funny.
And
you
then
need
Shrek
to
the
grow
third
up.
is the third one.
Yeah, Shrek the third.
Okay, and then Puss in Boots had her own movie.
Show, movie, maybe. I don't know.
Something.
I didn't see it.
I don't know.
I've only seen
And
Shrek 1, 2,
the
and 3.
second one, no one really hung around. I guess the third one a little bit too, but the first 2 were when this was hype.
Okay.
First one's by far the best.
Okay. Well, I was looking for Puss in Boots the whole time when I didn't get to
Didn't exist yet.
interact. Yeah. So okay. Well,
Yeah.
I got to play with the 3. I didn't really understand the story as it was because you've got cutscenes, you've got little slides pretty much from the movie, I think, with really poorly drawn text. It looks like some of the text in this game looks like it's one of those fan translated things that you get when you play like ROMs that come over from Japan or something, because the text looks like they wrote it in Times New Roman, 14-point font in a word processor.
They had to translate it from Ogre.
Okay.
So
all right.
There's a little bit of that.
Do you want me to tell you the story, Dustin?
Well, let me say this, because when you get to the end and Fiona, spoilers incoming from 2001, if you are, and Fiona turns into an ogre, but then she doesn't turn back. Was she always an ogre, not a human, or was she a human that got transformed into an ogre and then stayed that way? Is Shrek a human?
She found her true self.
Yes, it's an identity story. So you're expecting her to be like human and like beautiful, but okay, wait, you don't understand. At night, she becomes an ogre. That's her curse,
and always has.
And
always has.
As cursed, always has. That's why she's in the castle, and that's the catch that the mirror doesn't tell. Well, it tries to tell Farquaad, but he keeps cutting the mirror off because he thinks she's beautiful. And at the end, true love's kiss turns her into her true self, which wasn't what you expected beautiful. He thinks that she's beautiful as an ogre, and that's who she is.
I'm not convinced Dustin ever watched this movie.
He didn't. It's great.
I have, but sorry that wonderful plot didn't stick with me. And then at the end, it says they lived ugly ever after.
Yes.
That's rude.
It's... I
He's
can't with this guy, Kenny. I can't
That is
defend
ogre.
Shrek. I can't
That is
defend Shrek to
over-shaming.
someone who doesn't have a sense
Ogre
of humor.
shaming.
You gotta explain jokes to him.
Yeah, I can't.
Y'all-
I can't.
These aren't jokes. I feel
Now,
like y'all are overselling how funny this is.
I'm not even trying to
I'm not saying
oversell it.
This game is funny. We didn't watch Shrek. Shrek is hilarious. This game is not Shrek.
And I'm
tried to
talking about this
differentiate that
game.
really hard. Right, and this game is not funny. That's fine. We're on the same page.
Okay.
I will say when it got to the end and it says happily or ugly ever after, whatever is the ever after phrase, and then it goes on to say to be continued, I rolled my eyes really hard because that's not how ever afters work.
Sure, you continue nonstop.
Aged.
An NBA Jam.
What?
Where are we going here?
I enjoyed inputting a simplistic code that would enable big head mode.
Yeah.
It's in mini games.
GoldenEye,
GoldenEye, I think, has a version,
DK
and it
mode.
was always fun and cute, right? You could run around and your characters just have massive noggins. You don't have to put in a code for this one.
It's just default.
They're big-headed.
Default to the largest extent. When you come into this game, maybe at the end of the week you're more used to it, but do you remember starting this game and realizing how massive their heads are?
Yes, and I think it was smart to do that because No, listen. It's somebody. It's it allows them to make the faces very detailed, and I will say they nailed all of the character models, or at least the faces. Like even the enemies, like the Robin Hood guy and the Farquaad mascot, all looked straight from the movie. Very detailed faces, all recognizable. One of the enemies in the first area looked like Nick Cage, though. I did notice that. Straight up had Nick Cage's face. It's ridiculous, obviously, but it's a Shrek game, and so I wasn't like, what's going on? I mean, it just looked goofy.
So the body proportions didn't bother either of you,
No,
apparently?
because it's GBA and the screen's small, and so you have to do that.
Yeah, I didn't mind the big heads. I don't think they nailed Donkey's face quite as much as the others, and Fiona had a weird, like, kind of weak chin. I don't know. She did. Like, her head could have been better. Okay. But I'm not opposed to the general approach that they tried to take. It looks kiddish, but this is a kid's game, and it looks, over the top, but like it's stylistic.
I don't know. The proportions were ridiculous. But besides that, I felt that the graphics looked okay. But we're on GBA, so the graphics should look good.
Yeah.
Remember, almost every game that we played on the GBA, I've remarked at how excellent the graphics are, because they've got a lot to work with. Well, I don't know if they've got a lot to work with, but they have more than the Game Boy did.
Yeah.
And they always, and from my experience with GBA so far, they nail it almost every time. I don't know if they nailed it here. This isn't excellent. It's not one of the best looking games on the console, but it's not horrendous.
No, but it didn't age poorly.
No,
in fact, to some degree, it aged better than it even could have, because like we're not in the Shrek is super popular era anymore, and since there's no humor or Shrek really in this game at all, you can play it today and it'd be the exact same game experience as you played back when it came out. Looks the same, plays the same. That's not necessarily a good thing, but it is aged like perfectly.
But see, I don't know, because I think the reason why people would enjoy it more today back then would be because they have the connection to the source material, and so it's fun. There's a fondness there. There's a love for it. If you've got no connection to Shrek, which I would imagine less people, I don't know, but in 2022 than in 2001, less people are thinking about consumed with all of these things, right, Shrek related. I have a feeling that without that connection, it's going to make it worse.
The generation that is worse than you, Dustin, won't be as familiar with Shrek, and so they won't get things like the singing bird joke. But there's few of those references, it almost doesn't matter, because, again, they stripped it of everything Shrek. I'm saying that as an accusation of how much better this game could have been originally, but it plays today exactly the same as it played back then, which is fine on looks, bad on how they told the story.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. I feel like Shrek's still around. No, people aren't going to the movies to see it in theaters because they're not making them anymore.
No, but it was culturally everywhere.
Of course,
it was the big thing for like that 5 years after.
Of course, but it had staying power in the form of nostalgia, and then later into like self-awareness with like memes and just like it existing as a piece of media. People just generally enjoy those jokes and keeping it alive. I see Shrek stuff all the time on the internet still, and so I feel like no, it's not as culturally big because they're not making them, but yeah, the game looks and feels like that time in history, and it's the same. I agree with Kenny. It's the same experience, and it's still totally on brand, and like you can get that Shrek full experience.
Except for the music. Realized that of the three of us, you like Shrek the most because the algorithms are giving you what you want. I don't know that I see Shrek stuff anywhere really, but regardless, it's still popular, and your point stands.
My TikTok feed is so cursed. Y'all don't even know. It's the most nonsense stuff. So yeah, I'd probably see it way more than you. But I will say the music here, not Shrek at all. I know they can't put Smash Mouth in this game, but it was just the most stock image, like medieval music that they could have thrown on this just so that it would fit the vibe kind of. And it was actually distracting to me how like plain it was. I did not like it.
It was boring, but it was fine. I prefer this to them putting in like a bad MIDI version of.
I want that.
of
It should have
Smash
been
Mouth.
I want
that
that.
from stage 1 to the final
Yes,
stage.
every stage. I would have been so happy if it was that the whole time. It was too nothing. It was just here's some fantasy feeling music, and I wasn't feeling it at all.
I know that Shrek Castle at the Castle must have been somewhat successful upon its release because there was a direct sequel that came out called Shrek Wreakin' Havoc in 2003. No, don't see. This is the problem. What? You grin because you think that's funny and you think it's cute and you love the humor, and it is so not good. It's as good as my segues. That's how good it is.
What's your favorite comedy?
I laugh at your segues all the time.
What's your favorite comedy?
What's my favorite comedy?
Yeah.
I don't really have one, but
zero sense of humor.
That's not true, but this is not it. Wreakin' Havoc?
Yes, there is definitely a fart attack in that game, and that's the way it should be. He's an ogre. He does that in the movie.
And anyways,
you're mad.
It's on brand. I disagree though that the reason they made another one is because this game was popular. The reason they made another one is because Shrek was still just a really, really big deal, and they were trying to cash in on it. And so you're gonna just push out all the stuff. The same reason they made this first one, as so many movie titles are, it's a cash grab just based on the popularity of the IP. This one was not accurate to what Shrek is actually about.
Bull.
They didn't even attempt that.
Yes, they did.
No, they ripped the entire part out of it. They just
that?
retold the story. That's like saying reading the Wikipedia article about the movie is the same as watching the movie. This is not Shrek. And
are you doing your summary? What are you doing?
No, I'm telling you why they made a second one, and it had nothing to do with this game.
It wasn't just a second one. There's a lot of Shrek games for Nolan and other people that love lowbrow humor. There are a lot of games such as Shrek Swamp Fun with Early Math, all the way to games like Shrek and Roll, and even Shrek 2: The Adventures of Puss in Boots. So there are tons of Shrek games.
My wife freaked out when I told her we were playing Shrek this week because she had a GameCube one, and it was maybe one of those that you just named, but she was disappointed when it wasn't the one she grew up with.
She had the math one.
And the edutainment one?
Yeah.
No.
Swamp Fun with Early Math. You could get a GBA cart for $6 used. If you want it new, $30, which is pretty much just the price of a movie ticket today, so no one wants it.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. We're going to go in order of appreciation for the IP. So Nolan is going to begin. We'll wait for 30 minutes and then Kenny will go. And then a few days later, I will respond.
Okay, well, first things first, just watch the movie. Okay, like most movie to game adaptations, you're going to be left looking at the screen like, what is this? If you're not familiar with the source material, you're really not going to like it, but everyone should be at this point. That still is not enough for me to say play this game. The game doesn't do the movie justice at all. It's very boring, like very boring. I beat it in an hour. And maybe even less than an hour, and that's still a waste of time. That's half the movie. So just go watch the movie, stay away from this thing, It is. I don't know what Kenny's saying. It is true to the movie in the sense that it's literally the characters, the vibe, the actual plot of the entire movie, which I didn't expect. But it's not anything that you will walk away with and be like, I appreciate Shrek. That was funny. That was fun. No. Don't play this game. But also Dustin needs to lighten up and like this movie. This is a Shrek podcast. That's a Shrek household.
Saying that.
It is. Anyways,
It
no
is.
New
This
Game
is
Plus.
not a
Just
Shrek podcast. I would not be a part of it.
Two of three is what it takes to vote, and we Shrek boys.
we
He
Shrek
said
boys.
no. Oh,
Me, Kenny, and I. are
not
Shrek-
in general life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Every day you wake up on that Shrek grind. Don't play this game.
Kenny,
This is the most wrong Dustin has ever been on the podcast.
that you don't believe
Not about
that.
the
You're
game,
wasting your
but
breath.
about the movie.
Yes, exactly.
More wrong than he was about Civilization 2, and pick your
Well.
game that was contentious. This is the most wrong he's ever been on the podcast. That said, this game does not get New Game Plus status. If you're going to do Shrek, you better make me laugh, or at least chuckle, or guffaw, or something.
Guffaw.
Breathe out my nose slightly. While this was a bearable game, this one goes straight into the bin of games made to just milk money out of an IP and probably shouldn't get played. It didn't do Shrek in the most important way, the humor. If you're set on playing an IP type game, there are certainly worse ones than this. I did not think this was like the single worst game. It could have been so much worse.
Much worse.
It's a fine / bearable game, but it's not good, and it's not at all what makes Shrek lovely. And so avoid it. Go watch the movie instead. And solidarity, Shrek forever.
There was a review that came out this last year by The Guardian, and its title is Shrek at 20, an unfunny and overrated low for blockbuster animation.
Oh, nice
That-
article. Really
that the
cool
Shrek
opinion.
community came against so hard
Of
this
course.
last year.
That's the most. That's the dumbest title I've ever heard. Get
Well,
over yourself. Get over
it's-
yourself.
The first line is Shrek has an outhouse with a working toilet. So if that's gonna bother the person, then the rest of the movie
Okay.
is not gonna be for the guy
Lose your
either.
job.
Okay. Why
Cancel-
the passion
cancel him.
behind such
Because
a
clearly, going into the weeds about working plumbing in a swamp is
Yes.
not the point.
right?
Stop.
I agree. That's ridiculous. But your defense and level of passion for a movie that, even if it's funny to you, isn't excellent. This isn't top tier.
It is so iconic, and I can't believe either one of you would disagree with that. It is so important.
Okay. It's my
Nope,
summary
agreed.
now. My summary now.
Okay.
And since that, I'm just going to go harder than I was going to go.
Fine.
Because, well, I'll just talk about the game. The game is garbage trash. It
Yes.
starts garbage trash. It ends garbage trash.
Yes.
I too beat it, but it didn't take me an hour. It took me all week because I did not want to come back to it.
yeah.
I hated my experience with it. I couldn't jam B fast enough to make her sing and break the bird. I couldn't catch the mascot Farquaad for the longest time. This game is poorly designed. It looks bad. It sounds bad, and it's from an IP that I already don't find that attractive. And then I do agree with Kenny that when you strip the charm or heart or humor or whatever you want to call it out of a title and then just turn it into a platformer, beat 'em up, whatever, that even brings it down. So like, even if I was a Shrek fan, I would probably be more upset if I was a Shrek fan because of the disservice that this game does to the IP. But since I don't have a connection to the IP, I can just say that this game is a bad game and you absolutely should not play it. There's probably a decent or good Shrek game. This is not it. That means Shrek Hassle at the Castle is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? We had 338 votes on YouTube. 14% said yes, it's worth playing today.
Really?
Just Shrek. It's Shrek fans. 15% said no. And 71% have never played the game before.
That 14% tripping.
I wonder if we should stop doing this because most of the games no one's ever played before.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, right. It's
For the first time in a while, I'm going to read all of our commentary.
Oh.
I've abbreviated some of them, and then the majority of them are just memes. All right, so Super Gamer Guy said Shrek Hassle at the Castle is exactly what its name suggests, a decent but often incredibly annoying romp through a 2D version of Shrek's world. While it does faithfully recreate several moments from the movie, the levels and gameplay of this game remain a hassle to deal with.
Yeah.
These bland, basic levels are as linear as can be, with little to no elements of substance to keep them interesting. The loose, slippery gameplay doesn't help either, and the pitifully short-range attacks that all three of your characters possess make it even worse. Despite this, the visuals are actually better than expected, though the music is forgettable at best. All in all, this is an average Flash game, GBA platformer that can be easily skipped.
Yeah, heavy Flash game
flashy.
vibes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Bad.
Yeah. Shauna said, somebody once told me to play Shrek, Hassle the Castle, and they were wrong. I wanted to hop into this week's game hoping for another Hamtaro-like experience, but quickly found that this would not be the case. I struggled a lot with the controls and attack, or lack thereof, that made this game just not fun to play. I don't mind a platforming action game and figured that my biggest gripe would be its repetitive gameplay. I was wrong. Aside from the gameplay, the music was piercing to me, and I opted for playing Antonin style instead. Anecdotally, back in my retail days, I remember this game would always be on sale for $9.99. After spending some time with it, I understand why. This game is less like an onion and more like a ball of slime.
$9.99 is too high.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, like even on sale, that's no.
Classy onion reference. All the best of us made it.
Corkster wrote a haiku.
Yeah.
Super deformed Shrek. Hassle at the Castle is not the sharpest tool.
I'll rate that haiku
Better than the game.
Sure.
Dan said, I got a game over on 1-2 because of pits. 0 out of 10. Yeah, don't take a sip of water while I'm reading these. Cecil said Shrek, Hassle at the Castle is, in the great words of Douglas Adams, hey, mostly harmless.
Overrated? What?
Guy in the corner said, I would rather go eat an onion like an apple straight from the dirt. I don't even like onions. No NGP for me.
I love onions. See, that's another thing, Dustin. You don't like onions. You're not cut out for Shrek.
Right.
Yeah, Kenny, he doesn't eat them. He does
You don't
not.
like onions?
My favorite color is green, but not this neon yellow that I'm looking at. Lieutenant Pat X wrote a newspaper article, which he typically does, a front page, with the title Hassle in the Head, so that says a lot there. Joey said, I chose not to look at the commentary before playing this game because I knew this would probably not be a good game, and boy, was I right. This game is awful, caused me to rage, and even at times made me want to cuss, which I don't cuss. 2 hours of pushing myself to play this game, and definitely 2 hours I'll never get back.
Freak this game, man.
Let's all collectively cuss. All right. And then Garlisle, who this week changed his Discord name to Lord Garquad.
I saw that, and I love that.
Game Boy Advance games were some of the best of the era because they were about refinement. Free from the pressure of the 3D craze, the handheld let 2D games progress further than ever before, building on level design, visual style, control, and more. This led to some titles that became gold standards of their genre, and experimental new works took hold too. It also had a lot of shovelware, like this game though, which we do our best to forget.
What's shovelware? It's like bloatware on your phone when you get a new phone. It's just like handed over, cash grab, nothingness.
Yeah, I think so. I would say shovelware is like a term for individual video games or software bundles known more for the quantity of what it's included rather than for the quality or use.
Wow, you're a regular Rayman.
And then finally, Clint, who played and beat the game every day this week. Why? And got the world record twice. He beat the world record on speed runs and beat it again, beat his world record. Y'all aren't impressed?
No, I was going to say,
impressed.
I would be impressed if there was something else.
That's absolutely the way to play it. Find a game no one cares about that's got a beatable record and give yourself some enjoyment by having a challenge instead of the enjoyment of the game itself. Props.
Also,
I don't have a world record of any game ever.
Did Clint submit this game to the master list?
I remember them talking about it this week.
like
I don't know if it was Clint.
this.
I think it was maybe Super Gamer Guy.
Oh, okay. Well, whoever it was, don't do that. Anyways, what did Clint say?
Well, Clint really didn't leave much of a review. He just said Shrek no.
Shrek no. Yeah.
Shrek no.
Shrek
That's
no.
funny.
So I think it defeated him, and he wasn't even able to leave much.
It's his fault for playing it every single day.
I mean, that's my fault. I kind of made him. And so I at least stuck with him and watched him the majority of those runs. So congratulations, Clint. Again,
GG's.
This is the year of the Clint. We're going to put aside Shrek, Hassle at the Castle, and the bad movie associated with it, and we are going to randomly select the next retro game of the week from our ever-expanding retro master list.
I'm excited.
Which now I have been reported to that can accept Wii games and whatever came out at the same time we did. So
I thought about this too. Check this out. I think next year Dark Souls 1 can be put on the master list.
Well,
not okay.
Randomizing now. We're going to be playing a game on a console that we don't typically play on. It is a Sega console. And it
Dreamcast?
is the Saturn.
Sega Saturn?
Sega Saturn. Like the planet.
Oh.
And it is a 1998 role-playing video game.
What?
Interesting.
Developed by Team Andromeda and published by Sega. It is a part of a grander series. I don't know what else to tell you other than Sega felt an RPG was critical to compete against the PlayStation and Final Fantasy. So this is Final Fantasy competition.
This is
Final
their
Fantasy
response.
7 competition.
Okay.
And it is called Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Panzer?
Yes?
I'm not playing it. I don't like that name.
You don't like Panzer?
Panzer Dragoon Saga. Like I'm gonna pants you?
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't like
Okay.
that kind of humor.
I don't think it's that kind of game.
Well, Saturn. We've played Saturn games.
We've played a
couple
few
times.
Saturn games, such as Grandia, but I think we may have played it on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Dragon Force. That was a while back. We haven't played many, though.
Okay,
It's been a
well,
handful. So
I mean, it wasn't-
find this... Is it a JRPG? Yeah, find this JRPG for the Sega Saturn, the competition of Final Fantasy, Panzer Dragoon Saga, and play it along with us this week.
Join our community, please. We need to hit like 1,000 people in Discord. We're very close. We need a couple hundred. And we need you to join, even if you're not going to chat, although we want you to. You can go to discord.gg/newgameplus to join.
You can also check us out on patreon.com if you want to support quality episodes where we set Dustin right about his wrong opinions. newgameplus.com for more information about that, or just patreon.com/newgamepluspodcast. I may have gotten either of those wrong. Google is your friend.
How many times have we done?
You will be joining the likes of long-term supporters of the show, our producers, Marley and Antonin, Ben, Bethany Fox, Brunt, Carrie, Captain Protein, Dan, DB Muppet, Francesca, Gimbin, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Corey, Matthew, Maximum, Mr. Lattes, Nawel, Saijin, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna, Thomas, Unbedavable, Wardonis, William, Zachary, and Zion. You could also be like Chris, who decided to up his patronage this week. Or like LPC Daniel or Enrique, who became patrons for the very first time.
Welcome.
Be like them. We also want to say a huge thank you to our director level supporters who truly go above and beyond. Bro Jim, Lord Garquad, and Clint. Thank you guys so much for your support.
Thank you.
You can find us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice, and while you are there, subscribe so that you're the first to get new NGP episodes. Leave a kind rating and review, which, by the way, Spotify has just recently opened up reviews and ratings for podcasts.
Oh, big.
So if you listen to us via the Spotify platform, please take a moment this week and actually leave a kind rating and review. That would help us tremendously. This episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Panzer Dragoon Saga. Until then, I'm still Sid Highwind, one of my favorite dragoons.
I'm Kenny.
Nolan.
Well, and this has been a Shrektacular episode of New Game Plus.